Hey, I'm Kevin from Q. This episode of the Q and Ask podcast got a motherfucking sponsor. Tactical Distributors, you're on fire. They carry all kinds of cool shit, man. I got my fancy tiger stripe summer pants here that everybody loves. I skate in those. I go to the club in those, pulling honeys all day. If I actually wore, anything to go in my pool or hot tub, it'd probably be these board shorts. They're also tiger stripe. Things like these Ultima boots, the maritime boot that are awesome. I don't even know what that means, but these are summertime hunting boots, thin sole, like skate shoes. They're lightweight, they breathe, they repel the water. A cool thing about Tactical Distributors. All right, number one, cool motherfuckers. Number two, their return policy, simple, easy. I never know because I got like the fat feet. So this could be a 10.5, could be an 11. I don't know. Order two sizes. I pick one, send it back. It's no trouble. Get a little label, send it back, cost me no money. TacticalDistributors.com, promo code, I don't know what you call it, whatever code at the end, all right? Unpossible15. Unpossible15 gets you 15% off. TacticalDistributors.com, give them a look.
Our buddies Danny and little Ray who, Jesus Christ.
It's always a good time.
Yeah, good time. Down in Florida. So they had some of their homies send us some stuff. So thank you to these guys. Is that Wex Gun Works? I don't have my glasses on.
Yes, it is.
So pretty cool. That's that's a fitted hat, the American flag.
Ooh.
So that's good for us bald guys. I don't get that little circle. So you got the hair.
Yep.
Mine, I get the sunburn. And a T-shirt. That's very nice. I appreciate this. And the first thing I noticed about this? The logo. There's an erect penis right in the middle of the logo.
Yes, there is.
So I love that. So I'll be wearing that one. And then what is this called?
Coats? Is that Coats?
Yeah, Coats of Anarchy.
Yeah.
So okay, that's a strange name for an old guy like me. But so people always, well, I don't know if they ask you a lot. I get asked a ton about people to Sarakota. And apparently there's a lot of guys that are now trained by this. Sarakota's done a good job marketing that whole thing. So Danny, who I put a lot of trust in, yep. Ray is an attorney and clearly day drinks. So also I'm down with him, but my level of trust when it comes to quality components of firearms or coatings, I'm not so sure. So he sent us some little patches with a Baby Yoda, and was that the Grim Reaper?
Looks like it, yeah.
So pretty cool. So I know I'm getting, actually, sacrilege, getting a fixed rifle coated for my next trip to Africa. So I'm kind of excited about that. So I might give those guys a try. Anyway, Mike Murphy.
What's going on?
What's going on with you? How you feeling this morning, man?
Honestly?
Yeah, honestly.
I'm hurting this morning.
Bruised turd this morning.
I'm awake,
Bruised
though.
turd.
I'm alive,
Yeah. So we did the podcast yesterday, and you went and built a rifle yesterday.
I did.
Do you remember it?
Remember parts of it.
Great. Okay. So what'd you think?
It was great. It was great seeing the factory. It was great seeing the kind of the assembly process, and then more than that, the engineer's mindset behind building these guns and designing them and working out problems as they go. That was interesting to see. I like to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We do something similar at our place, but just on the other side of the spectrum. Yeah.
Yeah, it is very interesting. I mean, and I think, well, you're a smart guy in general, but working with Griffin and Howe and seeing how you guys do things, we are 100% the other end of the spectrum, as you said, but it's a similar mindset.
Yep.
Like, what do we do to be the best? It's just a new approach. So I want to start with, if you don't mind, well, I don't know. We talked about a little bit of your background yesterday, but your background, and then Griffin and Howe, because I had, of course, heard of Griffin and Howe, but I didn't even know they were still around, because I think a lot of people, and probably younger than me, aren't necessarily in the demographic that can afford some of the products that you guys do.
Right.
So some amazing stuff. Here's the gun that you took to Africa. That's a Griffin and Howe 301 mag. The thing is freaking beautiful. But you got to pay for somebody to do all that labor.
Somebody's going to put time in.
So where did little Mike Murphy start out?
Grew up in Jersey. Grew up in a relatively bad neighborhood. Mom was smart, got us out.
Yeah.
Before things got stupid.
It's like Dave Chappelle's story.
Yeah. Don't make that much money, though. Or that funny.
It ain't over.
Yeah. Got out and then went about life, hit my adult years or young adult years, went to the Marine Corps at 18.
What made you pick the Marine Corps?
A lot of things, man. I wanted to learn different skills that you can't learn most places, you know. I don't, deal with most social environments that well, so I figured this is a place to get just away and do something completely different for me.
So the podcast is very exciting for you.
Very exciting for me. No, I'm loving it right now. Loving it right now.
Well, why did you pick the Marine Corps over the Army or the Air Force, clearly where all the great pilots are?
Yeah, so Marine Corps has got a legendary history of winning gunfights, man. Just flat out smash people on the ground.
Yeah.
And that was exciting to me.
Those are facts.
So I decided, let's do that instead. Join the infantry. That was a fight, actually, growing up in an urban neighborhood. The recruiting center I went to, you don't see black guys in infantry that often, man. And I'm telling you, even in 2005, even in 2005, the recruiter tried to talk me out of it. He tried to talk me into an admin role. Or
because you're
role.
a black guy?
Yeah, and he was a black guy.
Oh, he was a black guy.
It was that's what we do thing. I was like, look, not for nothing, man.
That's what we do.
Yeah, like he literally sat me down.
No, I think Americans
speech with me, and I was like,
the Americans joined the infantry.
Yeah, and he had a whole speech with me about, we should do something different in life. And I'm like, no, I'm signed up as an infantry guy. And then he told me,
because you're a stupid kid. What are you, like 18, 19?
Yeah, 18
whatever?
years old.
So yeah,
what made it better was, I flat out told him, I was like, look, either I sign this contract for 03XX or I walk out. And I know the way they work; they have quotas.
Oh yeah, so I go next door to the Army, and we just go that route.
That changes mine real fast. We got the paperwork signed.
Oh,
me being stubborn, but that's what I wanted in life. So
man, that's great to me. If that's what you want, that's what you should try. Especially when you're that age. Like we're all so stupid at that age and trying to make life decisions. Go and get some discipline, learn some skills, see the world. I mean, and look where it gets you. You learn some skills that lead to a vocation for you. That's probably more exciting than most are going to have going to college and doing it that way.
I believe that completely.
Yeah.
So had a pretty good turnaround when I got in. Within 4 months out of all the schooling at the front end to go to the Marine Corps, I was in Iraq. Within months, we did because of our turnaround time. I did 5 deployments in 6 years.
Whoa.
We did back to back to Iraq 3 times, twice to Afghan. Learned a lot, saw a lot.
Yeah.
Some hard lessons, some good lessons. So.
Oh shit.
And that reshapes you a little bit.
Yeah. What do you think's your biggest takeaway from that? Like, what shaped you the most to like who Mike Murphy is today? 5 deployments in that part of the world during 01 to 2011. That was a lot of fighting.
It was the guys above me and below me, man. So the leaders I had teach me the way of the world. The way things should go. Basically, teach me how to be a leader. And then the guys below me, because you learn from those guys. And at the end of the day, and I've said it time and time again, is leadership is key, and that's where the buck stops. So I don't blame guys below me for making mistakes. Did I do my job to make them do their job well?
Yeah.
That's the end of that.
Okay, so that's what you mean you learn from them.
Yeah, you learn from the guys below, you learn from the guys above you. And my job is, if I'm a leader or in leadership position, to do my job so they can execute their job. That's the biggest thing I took away, is being responsible for myself and then potentially other people, More than gunfighting, more than shooting at well, and understand how to communicate with people. It's just pure leadership,
Yeah, well, that probably explains a lot of what your hunting adventure brothers now admire about you. Yeah, I mean that's a great attitude.
Yeah,
because people below you, I mean they fuck up a lot. They crash drones. They make mistakes, and we learn from it growing. And then I realized I should have had some rules about flying drones, and now we do. Yeah. So Iraq, Afghanistan. What was more challenging? Which one?
Probably Afghanistan. Yeah. I got in the first deployment. I was with attached to 1st Battalion 6th Marines, and we hit Marcher for the big push. So that was just a challenging deployment in general. First, I've been to Afghanistan. The culture is just a little bit different. The way they see things is different.
And geographical environment is tougher.
The fact that they produce, heroin on the front side and poppy, production, they have an agenda as they fight. So, like, for instance, you get to, like, the beginning of the year and all the fighting kind of started to slow down a little bit. And then as soon as the harvest happened, it was game on.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it was...
So I mean, it was clear to you in that role even that's what's driving a lot of the decision there.
Yeah. You see these beautiful pink poppy fields, and then you go, oh, yeah, it's just
it is beautiful.
It is, until you realize what it's going to be turned into. So now it was interesting dynamic, and the fact they still work in small environments or live in small environments as far as their community. So they have elders and whatnot. Yeah. The hard part for us is getting their elders. You got to fight for yourself. We're not going to be here all the time.
Yeah. So from my perspective, and what you're saying from Iraq, it's it's just more archaic even.
Yeah.
Like they're living in a tougher geographical environment. They're more isolated. And
At least that's my personal experience. It may have changed for a bunch of other guys, you know.
yeah, was it tougher too? You're saying because that was like a big push in the war at that point too.
Yeah, it was a big increase around like what was it, 2010, beginning of 2010. So you know, in Iraq too, I was a little bit younger guy, so I came in 2005. So I got into 2006, 2009.
Yeah.
And by that time, Iraq was kind of dwindling down anyway.
Yeah.
We were pulling out.
Okay.
So it wasn't as kinetic as, let's say, the guys in 03, 04, 05.
Yeah.
When, it was balls to the wall pretty much every day.
Yeah.
So
when did you leave the Marine Corps?
got out 2011. Yeah. So in almost exactly 6 years.
6
to the day.
years.
Yeah, I got out 2011.
Is that where you learned to shoot?
Yeah, so the basics is rifle shooting, man. There's no...
Yeah, they take it seriously.
I think we overcomplicate things sometimes. There's some very specific rules that we follow, and we can be efficient with shooting, and then we can, develop our skills from there. So just the basics of marksmanship. Nothing crazy. Nothing really complicated. No real crazy numbers going down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. What did you grow up with firearms at all? Like
No.
I didn't. Yeah, same thing.
Playing a
in the
little
city.
bit. I ran around with cap guns around town, but when you can still do that kind of stuff, can't do that now.
But your dad, uncles, granddad, nobody was hunting or doing anything.
My mom grew up in a really bad part of town in a town called Camden, in Jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah. So guns are out, knives are out, weapons are out in general. She wasn't about that.
So no one in your family is really in outdoors, that sort of stuff.
No, it just wasn't what we grew up in. We grew up in inner city or kind of outskirts of inner cities, but never not against it. Just not something we knew.
Yeah, just not something you did. So your exposure to it was absolutely the Marine Corps. All right. So then what happens? You get out. What do you do?
Get out like most guys. Transition. That's rough. You find whatever you can.
Yeah.
Screwed around for a while, working random jobs, then wound up getting hooked up with a marketing job. So completely on the other end of what I thought I'd be doing. I'm marketing in doctors' offices every day.
Really?
But it was a job, it paid,
Yeah.
I think I can learn pretty fast, so I had no experience and no schooling. Had some good mentors, and we wound up being pretty successful pretty fast. And then I took my free time and, got into the whole long range game just on my own. I was curious.
Yeah.
And then spent almost every dime I had at that point, which just making decent money, so it was all right.
Yeah.
And get out and buy new systems. And, when I was doing that, I made a lot of mistakes. So anytime I'm teaching somebody or talking to them, I preach from a position of knowledge because I've made those mistakes. It's not like, hey, I know better because somebody told me it's better. It's like, so I messed this up a bunch of times, so you don't have to mess this up. Here's some information that I've done, and I can share with you.
Well, what are some of the biggest mistakes or takeaways that you have from that experience?
Some of those big things is, letting marketing completely drive what I'm going to purchase and use as a shooter, especially in the gun industry. Some marketing is legit. Some marketing is just, it's big money spent to put a bunch of words out there.
Yeah.
And if you trick people just right, sometimes, and you don't know, and if you don't know any better, if you have no comparison, if you have nobody around you who has different experiences, you just may not find out,
Yeah, I mean, some of those things you don't find out till you go start pulling the trigger.
Yeah.
What are some of the basic things, like let's say basic things for marksmanship for long range? Like what are 2 or 3 basic things that are mandatory for?
Yeah, so have a rifle that is accurate, and I guess right now, around the industry, accuracy is 1 MOA or better. So we start there, and you can buy a lot of firearms these days that can shoot 1 MOA pretty much out of the box.
Yep.
You don't have to get crazy with it right now. And then have good, clear, efficient glass. You don't have to spend double right away. There's plenty of companies making the mid-range, low-range tier scopes.
Yeah.
As long as they dial accurate, you can see everything you need to, and nothing's falling off that, optic, then you're good to go.
Yeah.
You can start there, and then what I tell guys that want to get into it is pick a caliber like a 308 or 6.5 Creedmoor and shoot that until you understand what's really happening. So don't just go buy the sexiest thing out there right away if you're not ready for it. Spend money smart. I'd rather spend money on ammo than all the kit that goes into it and never actually use the gun.
Yeah.
You should be shoot a barrel out of a gun and then maybe get crazy with it later on.
Yeah.
Go that route.
Well, okay, so what happens? You're doing marketing.
Yep.
And how do you end up at Griffin and Howe?
So the network, actually the Marine Corps network, which is odd, right? Because we're, always Marines. There's this brotherhood that keeps going. So I'm down there in Florida. I'm doing marketing. I'm also working at a gun shop.
That is interesting you say that. I know we've got probably, 5 or 6 guys that were in the Marine Corps at Q.
Yeah, I think
And
4 or 5, something like that.
I noticed, Q's getting so big now. Like I go out of town for a week or two, I come back, I don't know everybody there. And there was a new guy in assembly the other day, and I noticed like coming down his arm out of his shirt, Marine Corps tattoo. And I asked Adam the other day, I was like, what is it with in the Marine Corps? You got to get a Marine Corps tattoo on your arm. And it is like there is some sort of connection that I don't quite understand, but it's real because like every one of them.
Yeah, it's kind of a cult following, especially in the infantry. So now I'm down there hanging out. Guy walks in the gun shop. I'm talking to him. Turns out he's a former Marine. He currently works.
So you guys,
on just
boyfriends right away.
Yep, he works on the government side of the house. So he was actually at the time he was a GRS on the contract side. Start talking to him, and then he basically asked the question, "Hey man, you happy here?" And I'm like, "No, not really." So he goes, "All right, well, send me your resume. We'll see what we can do." And I hear that, and I'm always like, "Yeah, that's what everybody says. Send me your resume." And sure enough, within 2 days, I get emails back from.
Really? It's just that simple.
Oh yeah, who used to work for Academy
works,
or Blackwood or whatever they go by these days, and he starts sending me emails saying, "Hey, we got some gigs coming up. Let me know." So around this time, I put that information out there, had it on standby, and then I went the marketing route instead. It came up one more time, so when I moved back up to the Northeast,
because you were in Florida or somewhere.
Yeah, I was in Florida for a little bit, kind of hanging out. One of my mentors reached out, which we don't talk that much. It's actually Dave Boone Benton. So he was one of the team members on that rooftop in Benghazi and that nonsense that went down. Yeah. Shout out to those guys for being badasses.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Man, there's a spot near you in Jersey looking for a rifle instructor." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay." I thought he was lying. Honestly, I thought he was playing with me. Yeah.
In Jersey, I wouldn't have believed it.
I thought he was full of shit. And then, comes around and, the next morning the CEO calls me. Steve Palanich, like 9:30 in the morning. And I'm like, oh, so this is kind of real. And he's like, "Hey, man, awesome. I'm headed out of town to hunt. When I come back, let's sit you down." And even though I was still pretty skeptical, sure enough, Friday afternoon, he called me up. "Hey, come up on Sunday. Let's sit down." That first interview was 8 hours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was there the entire day. And when you get there, so Griffin Howe currently operates out of Hudson Farm.
Well,
Did
maybe
you know about Griffin Howe before you got
I had no idea about him. No.
Yeah, because you were not
Yeah.
a super old rich white guy going on
pretty much,
safaris. So Griffin and Howe.
Yeah.
So you find out about him, and I'd heard about him,
right?
And knew about it. I didn't even know it was like still a company, but I knew it was, kind of an old school fancy rifle maker, and that's about all I knew. And some of the old rich white guys that I know have older Griffin and Howe rifles. That's all I knew. So what's the history of it? Because it's freaking fascinating.
Yeah. So it's about a 100-year-old company founded in 1923 by a cabinet maker of all things, a woodworker. So he
explains the stock. Bro.
Yeah, he read Teddy Roosevelt's book from his big safari in Africa, right? That kind of legendary hunt he went on, and he was motivated by it. So he bought an 03 Springfield.
He's one of the biggest inspirations in my life, so I get it.
And at the time, the need he saw was if you wanted a fine hunting rifle, sporting rifle, you're into a European gun.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I don't think about it, but there wasn't really
like a true sporting gun.
Jason, was there anything that you can think of then? 1920s, it would have been like a great off-the-shelf hunting rifle for an American?
Off-the-shelf? No.
So, yeah. Okay. So
you
European
had guns
stuff
that were built for wars, and guys would take maybe their gun out and go hunt with it, but it really didn't have the features you wanted. So you had a European gun. So, Seymour Griffin goes, "All right, how about this? I'll make a new stock, right? I'm a woodworker, so he made a sporterized stock, with a Monte Carlo on it that could actually work well for hunters, right?
Yeah.
He's kind of churning these guns out. He's working on guns here and there. And then Colonel Townsend Whalen, who knew him, goes, "Hey, man, you need to come to a meeting."
The 35 Whalen?
Yep. So we had a big part to do with that cartridge. And Colonel Townsend Whalen's a big reason why our company really exists, honestly. He sat him down with James V. Howe, who was a machinist, and they got together and said, "Look, you guys have something here." He worked for Frankfurt Arsenal. He goes, "You guys need to make this a thing. Make this gun happen."
That's how so many things happen. Like, oh, my buddy can do this. I have a machine shop.
Yep.
What the heck? What'd you bring? The COVID over here today?
Probably.
Jesus Christ,
Probably.
man, in my lungs. I think I got pneumonia just on this podcast.
It's all the kissing yesterday.
My bad.
Which nobody remembers.
Mike, I'm sorry. Yeah, thank God for that. All right. But it is how things happen a lot.
Yeah.
Magpul, which is a great, I will say our generation, like I'm your age, but, a company of this generation where it's a guy from the Marines.
Yep.
Rich Fitzpatrick or whatever his name is. came up with the idea, of just basically the band on the bottom of the magazine, Magpul. That's the logo. Probably most people now don't even realize that. Like, company's so old.
That's lost a lot of people.
And so then he knew in the little weirdo town of Boulder where he was, there was this industrial designer who was really smart, Mike Mayberry, who and they formed Magpul together because he could design that thing to be more than just like a bicycle inner tube with a paracord hanging off of it or whatever they were doing at the time. And that little Magpul started to come, and they just started, when you all have day jobs, you're doing other things, and it's like, well, hey, I would love to do this. This makes sense. I'm kind of into this hobby. I can do this, and you can do this, and you can machine some for us, and before you know it. So that's Griffin and Howe, too.
Yeah, that's the company. Unfortunately, when you have one or two guys building guns, you run into a big problem, and then around that time, you're creeping to the phase where now your Winchester starts coming around, Springfield starts coming around, and go, all right, so let's build a more modern rifle. And look, big manufacturers going to kind of put the small guy on the ground if they're not careful. So in the 30s, Abercrombie and Fitch at the time was one of the world's, or at least the country's largest outdoor retailer. Sporting clothing and booking in hunts, especially safaris.
So not just clothes for the tweens, like Jason said yesterday.
Exactly. So they wanted...
Because Griffin and Howe at the time, sorry, Mike, but they're doing 03 Springfield, doing stocks, doing the actions, rebarreling them, just using that great action to build something that makes sense for the commercial market or hunting.
Exactly.
Yeah, kind of. We talk about it with optics, Jay, a lot. It's like, and you being in the Marine Corps too, there's lots of great optics for that. But a lot of times they have features or different things that we don't really need in a hunting environment, or we need other things in a hunting scope. So there's a lot of overlap, but it's not always 100%.
No, they made some changes to the barrel, so they rebarrel them. Hooded and ramp front sight, protect that front sight, especially through heavy brush.
I guess then there's not really great optics, so you're using a lot of iron sights.
Yep, so 3/4 rib leaf sights, they'd install those on. Barrel bands for your more safari-style barrel bands, so you can actually attach your sling to your barrel instead of your stock, especially shooting off like traditional sticks. That might get in your way.
Oh, yeah.
So they made those changes in the course of stock. Later on came the actual side mount, which is really a project for the Army. It was for a Grand Infantry rifle where they'd make that custom side mount, which was a quick detach. And this is back in like the mid-30s. So you're talking where companies fight now to make a truly quick detach mount that returns to zero. These guys are making them by hand.
That's forward thinking.
Yeah, and they were serialized to the gun, so they were specific to that gun.
Yeah, they probably had to be.
Yep.
I mean, it was required.
And that way a guy could have one gun. He could shoot, in heavy brush. He could shoot down animals. He can shoot long range, which at that point is probably 300 yards.
Yeah, because probably at the time, you think about it now, we just take optics for granted,
Yep.
Like magnified optics or even red dots or whatever. And we just think of irons as a backup. And it was totally reversed then. Like you're going to use your irons all the time, just in case you can mount a magnified optic to it.
Absolutely. Yeah, so they moved forward in time. And in World War II, they started to produce the side mount. I think it's like 23,000 pieces for the Grand Infantry Rifle project. So we kind of had a big hand in that. After the war was done, we started building some side mounts as well, or some optics mounts for the Canadians, but that kind of fell flat.
So during the war, you guys are doing stuff for the military?
World War I and World War II. World War I, we were making trigger parts for anti-aircraft guns. And in World War II, we kind of had a part to do with the side mounts, and then towards the end of World War II, we started building mounts for the Canadians, and the war ended, so that project just kind of came to a screeching halt.
Yeah?
Yeah, and then you get into the weird part again. Keep in mind now Winchester and Springfield are still really, really ramping up as far as when it comes to, your hunting rifles. So all of a sudden, they have a problem where Griffin Howe, they're customizing guns for people, one person at a time. These guys are mass-producing guns, and it's just a matter we deal with now, right? You can buy a custom gun and pay 4 times as much. Is it worth it? Do I have that budget? Am I actually going to use that product? And that's the question you have. So it's a hard industry to be in for a company, and that's why I think the name started to lose a little bit of its power within the industry. And we had some pretty heavy hitters, some pretty famous people buying our guns at the time. The most famous that people know of, if you know the history of Griffin Howe, is Ernest Hemingway. And that's how we linked up.
Yeah.
Going to Africa, when you guys came in hot in Atlanta, we barely even shook hands. We sat down on a plane on the third leg of the flight to Durban.
Oh, third leg of a flight.
You mentioned, hey, I saw this pretty cool documentary. I'm like, Ernest Hemingway. I was like, we know that guy. Like,
oh, that's right. Yeah, I just watched all those Hemingway documentaries.
Yeah. That's how it kind of got kicked off. But you have other guys that are part of the company. Gary Cooper, you had Dwight Eisenhower. There's a lot of people that are buying our guns. Dorothy Moore, Jack O'Connor.
Because you guys still have the actual log where...
Oh, yeah. We have Leatherbound Books with literally every name we've ever sold a gun to, even nowadays with the modern guns as well. And then our historian can usually carefully, sometimes he can backtrack guns to previous owners. So if it gets sold once or twice, he'll reach out kindly and say, hey, do you mind if I get some information from you?
It's so cool. What's that going to be worth sometime?
Right,
These
yeah.
leather-bound books that are 100 years old where Hemingway and Dwight Eisenhower and stuff, names are in it, and, the details on the guns that they built and purchased.
Yeah, it's pretty neat to see this. It's just, it's true history at that point. Nowadays, a guy, random guy like my name's in the book, but that guy, it's just, for some people, that holds some pretty good sentimental value. So
That's
we appreciate that
super
history,
interesting to me, yeah.
Because some companies, you build a gun, the gun's out the door, you move on. So, we still built the Sporter rifles in the past. We still build them today, actually.
Still on those actions?
Yeah, we'll still build on those actions today.
03 actions.
A little hard to find good guns to start with, but so the hardest part
so
is
you
searching
actually
for those.
take,
Yeah.
you guys still take military guns
Yep.
or surplus guns and rebarrel them and build them.
Rebarrel, restock.
How
Usually,
many years?
I know I've got 2 or 3. I should do that.
Yeah, usually-
Because I only care about having, I ain't trying to be Reed Knight, so
Yeah.
I only care about having one that I can mount my old silencers on. Oh, I should do that. That would be such a fun project.
yeah, Douglas barrel.
I don't know if I can afford it, but
You can choose your piece of wood to start with, that slab of wood. These guys basically freehand or stencil that shape on there, and they start to shape it by hand, that wood stock. That's still done today.
do you get to make, are there options in the stock?
Oh, yeah.
You
You can do trap doors. You can do engraved butt plates. You can do rat
Jason,
pads.
should we do a field ethos story on this? I take one of my 03 Springfields that I've had for 30 years, and we build a gun.
100%. They're sending me one in the next week.
Oh, Jason, whatever with you. I'm talking about me. I'm talking about me right now.
We should take a hunt with just those 2 rifles.
That would be so awesome.
With iron sights.
And,
Yep.
for me, I just purchased those guns. Like, my guns, they're not sentimental. Like, they weren't my grandfather's or anything. I don't care. But, I bought them, and they were probably like $500. So then it would mean something to me.
When they're done with it, it will be one of your favorite rifles ever.
Of course. And then I could give it to Aiden or something.
And your name will be
Custom
in the book
engraving. So right now, the neat part
The
is...
name will be in the book.
with Ernest.
Yeah, our stock
Right
maker,
next to him.
He's actually part of the stock making, American Guild of Stock Makers. So he's the guy Dan. He's like a 2nd or 3rd generation stock maker. When I tell you, ask him a question, he just knows. I'm talking at the beginning. How long is the stock going to be? Oh, it's going to be this many hours. He just knows it, and he'll execute it to that hour. And then his younger brother, I believe his younger brother, so he's our engraver as well. So he can do pretty much everyone by hand.
Well, he's the engraver.
When you see the guy work, the crazy part is he'll be like on the phone, and he'll still be engraving, and he won't miss a beat.
This is amazing. I've watched some of the engravers at SHOT Show before. Like, they bring them out and do some of the stuff, and it's just because I love art and design and all that, and that is so fascinating. It's something that I value and pay money for.
Right.
And also know, I've talked about it several times in the podcast. My buddy Jared Joplin, American Precision Arms. That's the current name, I think.
Yeah.
But he also custom rifle builder, but different than you guys.
Yeah.
But takes Defiance actions, builds the guns. And he is meticulous, and he is so OCD, it's annoying. But that is the guy you want building your gun if you can afford.
You need that.
I bought 3, and I'll show you one before you go, that are all the same. They're 16-inch Manners folding stock. 2 are 308, and 1 is 6.5 Creedmoor. That's the only difference. And I can't tell a difference in the guns. And he'll get a $900, Manners carbon fiber folding stock. And when he inlets for the barrel, if you can see the difference on the void of space on one side and the other, he trashes it and starts it with a new one. Like, it's ridiculous. And I couldn't believe how much the guns were. And he's a friend of mine because I bought 3 at one time, and it was $18,000, and I got a discount. And this was 10 or 12 years ago. But his shop was near my farm in North Georgia, and when I went to watch him, basically at the time, he was doing a ton of the work, and the shop's grown, and so now he does one thing. He's got guys that specialize in certain aspects of the builds, and so they've become more efficient, and Jared would probably say even better, because now, it's like he's doing the thing he's best at, and he's got a guy that this is all he does, so that makes sense.
Right.
But when I realized, basically I'm buying a week of his life.
Yeah.
He's in there. He lived in the shop at the time. He didn't even have a separate house for 15 years. He lived in the attic of the shop. Crazy son of a bitch. And, in a week of his life wasn't, 40 hours minus hour and a half lunches. It was probably 70 hours.
Right.
And that's what it took, because he did the stock, he did the action, he did like everything on the gun. And they're perfect.
Yeah, well, that means it takes, and I mentioned yesterday when we were at the factory, which is, like at some point, if you want more precision, or better precision, if you want longer lasting parts, more durable gun, you're going to spend more money, let's say on raw materials to start. You know, we build our lightweight mountain rifle as well. It's a Macmillan stock that was made for us. It actually mimics our wood stocks. We use Defiance, Rebel Action. It's now control round fed, the one we chose
Nice,
for a couple of reasons. Direct mount titanium rings, things of that nature. And by the time you get done with it, the Defiance Actions cost money. But man, those Defiance Actions shoot.
They're great.
We use proof barrel. So you're paying for good parts to start, so your price immediately goes up. And then you are paying for somebody's time to make sure
I
to
mean,
check
threading
those
a
boxes.
muzzle brake to fit it to the gun.
If you want that half and weight, everybody seeks, or more or less than half and weight, it takes time.
Jared wanted to, I remember about 7 or 8 years ago, he has a very wealthy client who wanted wood stocks. And Jared's a guy that likes to challenge himself. And so his client like bought these pieces of wood, like 6 pieces of wood. And it's a guy with a lot of money. And Jared agreed to learn to make the stocks. And he like carved, or whatever you would say, like all those stocks, the same thing.
Right.
And he told me the pieces of wood that he started with, that his client paid $6,000 a piece for the pieces of wood, just the blank pieces. And then Jared would spend, whatever it would take, 2 weeks making one of the stocks.
It's like the American walnut we use in the All-American rifle. The slabs start at $500. You go up to about $2,000 per slab, and you can choose whichever one you want. But some Turkish walnut, French walnut, you'll get up there in price real fast.
That's so cool. So if I come to Griffin and Howe now, I want to build a gun.
Yep.
So there's options. I can start my 03 Springfield. Yep. We go with one of the Defiance type actions like you brought to Africa. I can pick my piece of wood off the
we'll lay them out for you.
Lay them out,
and we'll wet them as well, so you can see exactly what that grain looks like. Obviously before we start cutting into it, but you get an idea for how that grain flows. So you go, I like this one, but that one's a little prettier. I like that one a little better.
And that's pretty cool.
Yeah, whatever engraving, trapdoors, leather pads, orange pads, skeleton butt plates, whatever you want.
Yeah, that skeleton butt plate you got on that is so cool. So it's, maybe we'll take a picture of it and show it, but it's like still around the edge, and the inside is still the wood, the middle of it, and it's checkered. Oh, it's so beautiful. That's the first thing I showed to everyone last night on your gun.
So the neat part is then we have a guy who repairs wood stocks. So like this gun got hunted pretty hard. It got banged up a little bit being out of the truck, through some of that heavy stuff.
It's a working gun. We had to shoot some stuff.
So for some guys who don't like it, they can steam dents back out. They can repolish the wood. You'd never know that. When I send this gun back to these guys and they actually repair the stock, you won't know the stock was hunted. You wouldn't be able to tell. So right now it's still a bit war torn. I like the way it looks, but depends on what you like out of your gun, how you like to use them.
When we were in Africa and you opened that case, I was like, I've been there, done that, and I was like, man, I can't believe that gun's going to be used out here. It is,
So we have our mountain gun. We have our classic sporter rifles we'll build on pre-existing actions, and they're all American, which is a American Rifle Company action was modified for us a little bit, proof barrel, and then that handcrafted American walnut stock.
That's amazing.
Yeah, custom titanium rings, titanium floor plate.
It's so cool you guys do all this this sort of old world style of manufacturing the stuff and hand fit. But the proof barrels, I love the proof barrels.
Try some different. It's a love-hate thing. Some people are like, it's just not for me, and that's okay because I still have a sporter I can put you in as well. And that's up your alley. Hey, I want a workhorse gun. We'll put you in a Highlander, just it's a composite stock, right? We've all been there. And then I want to try something different,
All right. So right now, Griffin and Howe, rifles. So you can do the 03s, and you have these Defiance custom actions that you guys, custom to you start with. You can build guns. So you have these different categories. You just named. You have a Highlander or something?
Yeah, Highlanders are mountain rifle, 6.5 pound,
Nice.
composite stock hunting gun. We're kind of in the industry, and a lot of guys are in that same industry right now. Guarantee half and way across the board for our guns. We have our All-American, which is your higher dollar product, mostly because that stock alone is going to cost you quite a bit.
This is the All-American?
The All-American rifle, and the hand craftsmanship on that stock. So again, you're paying for
beautiful.
one guy's time to sit there and hand carve the stock out and let it and all the good stuff. And then the classic sporter rifle. So there's literally 3 different tiers, tiers of rifle. You can pick and choose whatever you want for your needs, or maybe you just want a collector's piece, whatever the case is. Yeah.
All right. So you guys do that. So you guys used to be part of Abercrombie and Fitch.
Used to be, yeah.
So, excuse me, what did you do to us?
I don't know. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. You might not make it out of here alive, man. All right. So you guys used to be part of Abercrombie and Fitch.
Yeah.
So you were in New York.
Yep.
Like Manhattan.
Right on Park Ave.
Park Ave.
Yeah, imagine that.
So you guys were above Abercrombie and Fitch?
above Abercrombie and
So
Fitch.
how did it work? They're an outfitter.
Yeah.
And so you guys were part of Abercrombie and Fitch at the time?
Actually owned by Abercrombie and Fitch at the time, subsidiary. Yeah, so we were.
Doing the same
Yeah,
thing.
so Abercrombie and Fitch at one point bought Griffin and Howe. So we were actually under their banner, I guess you
That's
could
so
say.
awesome. Yeah, I told you, I think I have an Abercrombie and Fitch catalog from like 100 years ago that has some Maxim silencers in it for
Yep.
sale. Yeah. So you guys are upstairs. So it's so amazing to think now how screwy America is in this way. But so you'd have movie stars and stuff who would want to go on an African safari because, you know, you weren't a bad person if you went and did that back then.
Right.
And they would come into Abercrombie and Fitch. They get all their gear. So they get shirt, pants, belts, boots, hat, like all the things you need. And then you go upstairs, you pick out your rifle, your ammo, and everything.
Get fit for your rifle, make sure it's zero to get you all squared away. I mean, true customer service.
And
it was full boat.
downtown. That's so great. And so you walk out, and then you go to Africa.
Yeah, go to Africa, go slay bodies. Yeah,
I was maybe born too late in America.
Right.
I don't know.
Bring it back
yeah.
in New Hampshire.
You know, nowadays we still do something similar. You know, you come in and we have an actual training facility as well at Hudson.
Yes.
Farm.
So you guys, and that's in New Jersey. So now you have the rifle building place. What all else is at Griffin Howe? What can you do?
So
What's
rifle
special about it?
manufacturing, then gunsmithing. So we're not just building; we can also repair guns and bend stocks for shotguns and all that good stuff. We do gun sales as well. So we're a gun shop as well. We cater to all clientele realistically, but we do still specialize in the higher end guns. Your J. Purdy and Sons, your Holland, some of your best lung.
So double rifles.
W.J. Jeffrey, we're a dealer for them.
That's what I have now.
Yeah.
Yep.
In case you didn't know.
Absolutely. So we get into that, and then we actually have the shooting academy as well. So it's sporting clays for shotgun, it's rifle, it's handgun, and if you need something specific, hey, I'm going to shoot pheasant today, we do pheasant clinics. I want to shoot ducks, we do duck clinics. For the shotgun side of the house.
So it's for people getting into hunting, want a place where they can either learn and train or stay tuned up.
Exactly.
And so you said we can stay there if we come.
So we have lodging. Yeah, we have like 12 double twins, beds with private bathrooms, so you can stay there, especially guys that come from out of town.
Yep.
You don't have to run in and run out. You don't have to worry about, there's a helipad there, so if a guy wants to fly in, if you're lucky enough to have a helicopter. So I expect to see your helicopter flying at some point.
Yeah,
That'd be
Jay's
great.
going to fly me there.
I'll be there.
Awesome. That'd be good. But we're all set up. One-stop shop. The club, which also
have a
operates
chef?
in Hudson Farm, has a chef. So we have the ability to utilize their services, which they've kindly extended to us as a company. The actual private members club that's also there. So
you have a private members club, so like
On
a
the
country
grounds.
club for shooting.
Exactly. And they allow us to be on the property and use it, which we appreciate, right?
Yeah.
We have a 90-yard rifle range, which is the longest in New Jersey. And for New Jersey in general, it's 4,000 acres. So that is not a lot of land if you live like out west, but on the northeast, 4,000 private acres is quite a bit. Yeah, that's a lot of space.
Sorry. So you have 900 meters?
Yeah, 90-yard rifle range.
100 yards. Okay, and 4,000. So yeah, it is interesting.
Yeah.
Even me being from Georgia, well, that's a big tract there, 4,000 acres. But I can imagine in New Jersey, where you guys are, not far from Philadelphia and stuff like that.
I believe it's the largest privately owned property in the state, and anything bigger than that state land itself. So we're fortunate,
awesome.
I can say it that way.
That's people don't think about it, but that's also a beautiful part of the country.
It really is. So it's not New Jersey people think of. It's kind of in the little triangle between Pocono areas and PA.
Because New Jersey, everyone
New York.
thinks about is just right there next to New York City.
Exactly.
But a lot of the rest of New Jersey, especially the western parts.
It's a very wooded, kind of semi-mountainous environment is what it is.
Yeah, because you're right there on the edge of the Appalachians and everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the Appalachian Trail runs through our property at some point.
Yeah,
it's pretty neat. So we do a good job. Also have archery as well. So, we are truly back into the outdoor enthusiast environment. It's not just shooting guns.
so
It's
great.
you want to have an experience with your kids or your family, something like that. Come up. It's a family place.
Oh, this is a family place?
Yeah.
All right. So Danny and I are coming with our ladies in July.
Yep.
So what's this Mike Murphy Extreme Expert Rifle Challenge? What would you call this? Academy teaching?
Yeah.
Like what would
Course.
you say? Course is good.
Yeah. So usually private instruction, right? Usually minimum 2 hours for one-on-one instruction, which is different from most of the industry in the country, which is structured group classes,
Yep.
which I prefer, honestly, but some people, like, I don't want to be around other people. Hey, I have one goal to achieve, which is I need to know how to zero my own gun, or I need data for my gun, and I've got to hunt in, like, next week.
Well, that makes sense.
You
if
know.
you can afford it and you don't want to go through a 2
Exactly.
or 3 day class.
Yeah, and it's per the time, so some guys come as a group of 4 guys, just buddies hanging out. And then I run an actual excursion course, so we utilize 3 additional ranges we dropped in specifically for hunting prep. There's no more tables and benches, no more cover.
We talked about it yesterday on the podcast. Like if you just go and you go prone, you go to the range to prep for a hunt, go
not gonna work
prone
out.
and on the bench.
Yeah. So all
You're
the,
limiting yourself.
all the targets are animal presentations that we use lifelike and life-size presentations for, with their vital zones being steel, but painted the same color. So we'll be like, let's say, set in the deep woods, and the hardest part is finding your target. That'll be part of that. And
You're
then-
right. Another reason to have good glass, good binos.
Exactly. And then-
because that's the way it goes a lot of
Yep.
times. Yeah.
And then it's a matter of, hey, well, now let's use what you know to make that shot. Everything from lasing it just right, make sure you're not missing with the laser, using your, do you have a pack with you? Use your pack, use your sling. Why don't you have a sling with you, right? Is that sling work for you? Or is it something that's meant for a different setup altogether? And then we go to a big position up on the top of the property, so we go to 1,200 yards. But we have a little bit higher winds, so in all the animal presentations are at 600-700 yards. We're not trying to shoot those distances, but if we can start to appreciate what happens at these distances, we'll be better off as a hunter.
Yeah. Well, you
Or
said
at least
something
most of my clientele are hunters. So
interesting to me that I think is probably a good rule of thumb yesterday, and I can't wait to come down and do a course with you in July, which is probably going to be super cool. My bald head's going to get burnt, but I'm going to learn some stuff. But I thought this was an interesting way to think about it. You're like, work with your rifle, whatever range you can get proficient at. So what you said was like, if you're proficient at 600 meters, if you can reliably shoot on target, good group, all that, then hunt at 300 meters.
just
Like
cut your
make that
distance in
your
half.
Yeah.
It's like, and we talked about it last night, it's just a catch-all. It's not like a hard, fast rule, but like,
I think that's wisdom.
because
That's
the
good.
question is ethics. The question's always is an ethical shot. Look, it's wherever you're most efficient at. If you engage targets a mile and a half, and you're just a bad dude, and you can do it all day long. So if you had to take a shot at 800, you probably see 800 yards differently than most people.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it yesterday, too, the confidence level in your stuff, and you spoke to it in this. Like, get a gun, lots of rounds through it, get your setup, whatever optic. Like, it's easy with social media or marketing to like, oh, I want this and this newest thing and this comes out in 2 months. I'm going to get that. But, yeah, having confidence in your setup when you go on a hunt, to me, is one of the best things you can do to have a successful, fun hunt. Like being confident that you can make shots.
Yeah. There's a guy I know, I think you know him too, but we were having this conversation. So this guy shoots, all the sexiest long-range rigs you can think of, all the military stuff. And he goes, when I hunt, I take like Mile 30-06, like mountain rifle that weighs like, 6 pounds. I put a little like Boone and Crockett reticle on there, and I only shoot stuff at like 200 yards. I know the guy can destroy stuff out at a mile and a half, 2 miles. I've seen him do it. He doesn't need to. He's trying to hunt. He's trying to put meat in the freezer. Like at the end of the day, there has to be a practical solution here.
Yeah.
Like what we did, I appreciate because you can try different things. You can get out there and really get after it. But for the guys, especially hunting like the United States, elk hunt, mule deer, like you got one tag, you got one chance.
Don't blow it.
It's not worth it, man.
Yeah, I agree with that. It was, if you're going to go to Africa right now, Africa was a great experience for us. It's very inexpensive to go to South Africa. It's target rich. It's not a lot of money to shoot a lot of animals. It was interesting for us, too, as a group, taking a lot of different optics, rifles, a lot of different ideas of what we want to do. You had 300 Win Mag with a Swarovski. What is that, a 5 to 25?
That's a 3.5 to 18.
3.5 to 18. And Jason shooting a Winchester 30-06 with a 2 to 8 on it, and everything in between. And, you're confident with it. You can make the shots.
That's what it is. Look, there's a lot of good rifle builders out there. There's a lot of good companies that provide a lot of good support equipment, but it doesn't matter if you don't put time on it.
Yeah. Buying the most expensive, nicest shit's not going to make you a good shot.
I love you to buy my gun, but I'd more appreciate you shoot my gun if you're going to buy it. So, whatever your system is, just you got to put time in.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing I stress to guys. It's like it's not about one crazy shot, and that's why if you do that enough, you also pick apart problems with certain gear. I bought stuff just because it had a certain dollar amount attached to it. It was a high dollar amount, so I go, well, it's good. And I thought it was good for 3 years. So I hop behind something different. I go, oh,
Yeah.
I got had.
Yeah, I mean, and it's the same like when we talk about like every aspect of it. Where we said yesterday, and you taught me this, and I should have known already. But you know, when we go to the range, if we're trying to get a good zero, I want to have heavy bags. I want to lay the gun in there. I want to have to manipulate the gun as little as possible to try to shoot a group. But, you know, you have heavy bags that you shoot from. Like, you don't want to carry that on a hunt. And in Africa, you had a super lightweight bag. That's not what I want to use for zeroing my gun. But when you're hunting and you can clip it on your belt, you clip it on your sling like you talked about, and you can be successful. You know, it gives you that little added advantage in the field when you got to make an awkward shot. Because as we know, like you go to Africa, very few of your shots. I mean, if you want to sit in a place all day and wait for something and shoot like whatever comes out, like you can do that and be prone. But if you're after a specific animal or type of animal or, you know, maturity level or whatever, it's rare that you get the shot that you want. Yeah, so, I mean, you saved me with that bag a couple times. So I went and bought them, and we just went to Wyoming to train up and do some engineering stuff. But also for me, I was training up for my next hunt to Africa, and I bought 20 different bags from everybody I found in the industry, ordered them up, took them out there for everyone to use. And I've got 2 of those lightweight bags like you had from Small Arms Precision.
I think it's short action.
Short action precision. So I used those and did the same thing. Like I'm going to have that just like you had, a little carabiner clipped on. I'm going to clip it on something. I'm going to have it with me. Because if it's heavy, I won't use it. And that's another thing. Like you get all this equipment, but when you start, you know, like I'm not as young as I once was or as fit. And I still do okay. But like when you got to hike up a mountain and it's 9,000 feet, like, I'm not carrying shit that I don't have to take.
Exactly.
And so having lightweight stuff was important.
Yeah, it's a big deal, you know. And we got to put time in at the end of the day. Again, it's just a matter of, I can tell you this best piece of gear, but, you know, now you'll train with it, you'll be even better off. You know?
Yeah, the best piece of gear is the one you're going to use and have with you, and it'll help you. Yeah. Well, okay, so people can go to, is it griffinhowe.com? What's the website?
Griffinhowe.com. A new website just got launched the other day.
Nice.
So that's good for us. That was a long time coming. Yeah, so all the information's on there. There's a gun room right on there, so you can see we have used and new inventory. We're a smaller dealer, right? We still don't have a big footprint, so we have like exclusive dealerships with certain companies.
Yeah.
You know, so like we have elite dealerships with Staccato and Nighthawk, and instead of just carrying a bunch of handguns,
the handgun
for instance,
stuff and all, but
shotgun, same deal. You know, Beretta, Caesar Carini, B. Rosini. So it's not just a gun shop that has random guns. You know, it's the place if you're looking for something specific, and we may be able to custom order something for you now as well. So
because you sent me some double rifles when I was looking. You guys had inventory.
So we still really tailor the experience to the customers, not just come in, buy a gun, we take your money, you leave. We want to know if you had a good trip. We want to know if it works. We want to know what we can do better for you. And that's across the board. That's from gunsmithing to shotgun instruction, rifle, handgun, archery. That's a whole 9 yards,
Oh, man, I can't wait to get down there. And so people can go on the website, too, if they want to take a long range or a hunting a course to get tuned up for the rifle. They can do that.
Yeah, we run 7 days a week. So call in, you know, if you want to book a lesson, we'll figure out a time slot. We're booking relatively fast. I think I'm booked through like September already.
Nice.
Which means I'm actually booked through January because we haven't even hit the hunting prep guys yet.
No.
That are getting ready to go. So we're running full tilt. We do a lot of corporate and charity events, though, too. So at the same time, the farm does, the actual club that's there probably does over $1 million in charities a year for the county.
Oh, just the county goes.
And then we still branch out to Wounded Warriors and branch out to Special Forces Charitable Trust and anything you can think of. And the members all sponsor that stuff, which is great. So
that's wonderful.
You wind up meeting a lot of people, too. And that's part of the reason I'm where I'm at. It's just a member knew another member, new to the member, new
networking, connections. That's great, man.
Hey, we got a guy, you know.
Yeah. Well, man, thank you for coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
It was so wonderful meeting you. The hunt that we went on, I mean, I think we talked about it yesterday, but what a bond we all have now, and I hope we make that an annual thing. And, man, I wish you success. I can't wait to get down there and shoot with you. I'm glad you got to come build one of our guns.
I appreciate that, man. I learned a lot yesterday.
Yeah.
I learned, like, from the manufacturing side, a lot of information. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different approach. Like, we're doing our own thing, and I love it, but I appreciate, you know, I mean, I've devoted my entire life to small arms and every aspect of it. And right now I'm super into the hunting part of it. And so, man, I'm so glad that we've connected and we got to share a great adventure. And I hope we make it an annual thing. And I can't wait to see you in July, man.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So, Jay, thanks for all your input.
Yes, sir.